evening and welcome to Bedtime Story. So I hope you are wearing your pajamas and that you are comfortable for your bedtime story in English. We are about to read chapter 10 of 1984 by George Orwell, and as I have said in the past, this book has been edited especially for people who have English as a foreign language, as a second language, and this book is at level B1 on the International Framework, CEFR. So all the vocabulary and all the grammar that is used in this book will be appropriate for students at level B1, which is intermediate. So it's intermediate vocabulary and English grammar. We're about to read chapter 10. We have 3 chapters, 10, 11 and 12, and then we finish the book. So we're going to find out what happens to Winston. Chapter 10 is called 2 and 2 Make 5. So if you are sitting comfortably, then I shall begin. He was lying on a bed and he could not move. There was a strong light in his face. The damage to his elbow had only been the start of it. 5 or 6 men in black uniforms had hit him with sticks and iron bars and had kicked him with their boots. He could not remember how many times they had hit him or how long this punishment had lasted. Sometimes he told them what they wanted to know before they even touched him. Other times they'd hit him again and again before he said a word. And all this was just the start. The first stage of questioning that everyone in the cells of the Ministry of Love has to suffer. Later, the questioners were not guards, but party men in suits who asked him questions for 10 to 12 hours before they let him sleep. They made sure he was not comfortable and he was in slight pain. They made a fool of him and they made him cry. Sometimes they said they would call the guards and their sticks again. Other times they called him comrade, and in the name of Big Brother, he was to say sorry. He told them he was responsible for every imaginable crime. He said he was an Estasian spy. He said he had murdered his wife, although they knew very well she was still alive. He said he had known Goldstein. He didn't remember when the questions had stopped. There was a time when everything was black, and then he was in this room, lying on this bed, unable to move. O'Brien was looking down at him. His hands were on a machine. "I told you," said O'Brien, "that if we meet again, it would be here." Yes, said Winston, looking up at O'Brien. O'Brien's hand touched the lever in the middle of the machine and a wave of pain went through Winston's body. "That was 40, said O'Brien. "The numbers on the dial of this machine go up to 100. Please remember that I can make you feel a lot of pain at any time if you lie, if you do not answer the question, or even if you answer with less than your usual intelligence, you shall feel pain. Do you understand?" Yes, said Winston. "Do you remember," O'Brien continued, "writing in your diary, 'Freedom is the freedom to say 2 and 2 make 4'? "Yes," said Winston. O'Brien held his left hand and its back towards Winston, with the thumb hidden and 4 fingers pointing forward. How many fingers am I holding up, Winston? 4. And if the party says that it's not 4 but 5, then how many fingers am I holding up? 4. The word ended in a shout of pain. The dial on the machine showed 55. Winston could not stop himself from crying. O'Brien touched the lever, moving it just a little, and the pain grew slightly less. How many fingers, Winston? 4. O'Brien moved the lever and the dial showed 60. How many fingers, Winston? 4. 4. What else can I say? 4. The fingers swam in front of his eyes, unclear, but still 4 of them. How many fingers, Winston? 4. Stop it, please. Stop it. Stop it. How can you continue? 4. 4. How many fingers, Winston? 5. 5. 5. No, Winston, that's no use. You are lying. You still think there are 4. How many fingers, Winston? 4, 5, 4. Anything you like. Only stop it. Stop the pain. Suddenly, he was sitting up with O'Brien's arm around his shoulders. He felt very cold and shook uncontrollably. O'Brien held him like a baby, and he felt much better. He felt that the pain was something that came from outside and that O'Brien would save it from him. You are a slow learner, Winston, said O'Brien gently. How can I help it? How can I help it? Cried Winston through his tears. How can I help seeing what is in front of my own eyes? 2 and 2 are 4. Sometimes, Winston, sometimes they are 5. Sometimes they are 3. Sometimes they are all of them. You must try harder. He put Winston back down on the bed. The pain flamed through Winston's body. The dial was at 70 and then 75. He had shut his eyes all the time. He knew that the fingers were still there and still 4. He had to stay alive until the pain was over. He did not notice whether he was crying out or not. The pain grew less again. He opened his eyes. How many fingers, Winston? 4. If I would see 5, I could. I'm trying to see 5. Which do you wish? To make me believe that you see 5, or really to see them? Really to see them. Again, said O'Brien. Perhaps the machine was at 80, 90. Winston could remember only and again why this pain was happening. In front of his eyes, a forest of fingers seemed to be moving in a weird kind of dance. He was trying to count them. He could not remember why. He only knew it was possible to count them, and this was because 4 was, in some strange way, the same as 5. He shut his eyes again. How many fingers am I holding up, Winston? I don't know. You will kill me if you do that again. 4, 5, 6, I honestly do not know. Better, said O'Brien. Winston wanted to reach out his hand and touch O'Brien's arm, but he couldn't move. The old feeling about him came back. It did not matter if O'Brien was a friend or an enemy. O'Brien was a person he could talk to. Perhaps people did not want to be loved as much as understood. O'Brien had caused him unbelievable pain and soon would probably kill him. It made no difference. They shared the same experiences. There was a place where they could meet and talk. O'Brien was looking down at him with a look that suggested he felt the same thing. When he spoke, it was like talking to a friend. Do you know why you are here, Winston? I don't know. I can guess. In the Ministry of Love. Do you know how long you have been here? I don't know. Days, weeks, months. I think it is months. And why do you think we bring people here? To make them tell you about their crimes. No, that is not the reason. To punish them. No! No, shouted O'Brien. His face and voice were angry. No! Not just to hear about your crimes, not just to punish you. Shall I tell you why we have brought you here? To make you better. To make you better. Your crimes do not interest us. Your actions do not interest us. We are interested in your thoughts. We do not destroy our enemies. We change them. We change their thoughts. Do you understand what I mean? Yes, yes, said Winston. A man in a white coat came into the room and put a heavy machine behind his head. O'Brien had sat down beside the bed so he could look into Winston's eyes. This time it will not hurt, said O'Brien. Keep looking at me. Then he turned to the man in the white coat. 3,000, he said. Winston felt the machine against his head. He heard a lever pulled. Then it was like an explosion inside his head. Though it was not certain if there was any noise, there was a blinding light and the feeling that he had been thrown back off the bed where he already was. Something had happened inside his head. As he opened his eyes, he remembered who he was and where he was, and he recognized the face that was looking down into his own. But something was empty inside his head. It felt like a piece had been taken out of his brain. Look me in the eyes, said O'Brien. He held up 4 fingers on his left hand, with the thumb behind the hand. There are 5 fingers. Do you see 5 fingers? Yes, yes, yes. And he did see 5 fingers. Just for a second, O'Brien's words filled the hole in his mind with the complete truth. You see now, said Brian, that it is possible. Yes, yes, said Winston. O'Brien smiled. I enjoy talking to you, he said. Your mind is like mine, except that you are mad. Before we finish, you can ask me a few questions if you want to. Any question I like. Anything, anything. He saw that Winston's eyes were on the machine. It's switched off. What's your first question? What have you done with Julia? Asked Winston. O'Brien smiled again. She betrayed you, Winston. She betrayed you. Immediately. Completely. I have never seen anybody obey us so quickly. All her feelings against the party have been burned out of her head. She has changed herself completely. Did you use this machine? O'Brien didn't answer. Next question, he said. Does Big Brother exist? Of course he exists. The party exists. Big Brother is the face of the party. Does he exist in the same way I exist? You do not exist, said O'Brien. How could he not exist? But what use was it to say so? O'Brien would argue with him and win again. I think I exist, he said carefully. I think I exist. I was born and I will die. I have arms, I have legs. In that sense, does Big Brother exist? It's not important, but yes, Big Brother exists. Will he ever die? Of course not. Of course not. How could he die? Next question. Does the Brotherhood exist? That, Winston, you will never know. If we choose to free you, and if you live to be 90 years old, you will never learn whether the answer to that question is yes or no. Winston lay silently. His chest moved up and down as he breathed. He still had not asked the first question that had come into his mind. He wanted to ask it, but he could not move his tongue. O'Brien was smiling. He knows, thought Winston. Suddenly, he knows what I'm going to ask. And as he thought that, the words fell out of his mouth. What is in room 101? O'Brien was still smiling. You know what is in room 101, Winston. Everybody knows what is in room 101. So, I think room 101 is probably the place where they torture the people like they're doing to Winston. But I also think that room 101 is your mind. It's that place in your mind. It's that one thing that you're afraid of, the one thing that can really control you. So for some people, room 101 might be a place full of spiders. Some people, it might be a place where they cannot find their parents. They cannot find food. It all depends on who you are as a person. That's what I think room 101 is. And if you have ever read any books by Stephen King, the famous writer from North America, by the way, I definitely recommend reading it rather than watching it at the cinema, because the book is a trip. It really is a trip. I think that's room 101. I think that whole concept is room 101. But that's my opinion. What's your opinion? Feel free to write a comment here on YouTube channel and let me know what your opinion is about room 101. What is it in your world? And stay tuned for chapters 11 and 12. Then we will be finishing our book 1984 by George Orwell. So good night, sweet dreams, and see you next time. Bye.